Well, welcome back to my podcast, Real Talk with Karen Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me on YouTube today. And I am so impressed on how many of you have gone on and purchased my new book called Your Healing Journey. Well, it's just on Amazon and it's right down in the link below. So all you have to do is go and pick that up for yourself. Or you might know somebody that needs a healing in their body and is facing depression like I faced depression for many, many years. And you want to go and pick that up. Okay? Today our podcast is going to be about preparing yourself for success. You know, I started my own journey when I was 25 years old in a direct sales business. And they really teach us, and still do, how to prepare for success. But, you know, I wonder how many of you really know what success is. You know, like they tell us to think about yourself as being successful. What do you think about? Most of the times we think of monetary, we think about, you know, how many cars we have, how many houses we've purchased, and the list goes on, right? But that's not always success. Success is doing what you have been called to do by God. That's what success is. And that is your purpose in your life as well. But I always talk a little bit about my story. And part of my story has always been to set goals. You know, in the book, we talk about brain dump. Every night you're going to do a brain dump, which means you're going to sit with your pen and paper and you're going to write down the 6 most important things that you want to do for that day or for the following day. You might have things for your family. You might have things for your business, but it's just to get things off your mind at night so you can sleep peacefully. And so one of the things that I wrote down, and I want to read it to you because I went through some of my notes even this morning, and I'm like, I want to see how what we tell ourselves and what we write down for our success, how much of it comes true. Do you know that 80% of what you write down and you tell somebody else that you trust, 80% of that comes true when you don't even believe it yourself, because you're writing things out and your subconscious goes, oh, I need to do A, B, and C to get that done. And so it really matters what you say to yourself to set yourself up for success. But listen to this. This is so cool. It says, spend time and money on yourself. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, take yourself out for a steak dinner every week or, you know, go and, you know, spend $1,000 on clothes. No, that's not what it means. This means spend it on yourself. What books are you reading? How many of you have ordered a book on what you're interested in? Maybe it's leadership qualities. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's what you want to cook. I don't know. But you got to spend your time and money on things that are going to help you become successful. So I wrote these things down for myself, and I wanted to share them with you so that you can understand setting yourself up for success, what setting yourself up for success actually looks like. So one of the things I wrote down, which I haven't done yet, not all the way, is to get yourself in physical good shape. That is something that I'm working on. That is something that is in my journal. That is something I talk about all of the time to myself. And so these are things that you write down that you want to bring yourself up to success. Another thing is, listen to this. I wrote this, you guys. I wrote these things 2 years ago. And I'm so excited because I forgot really about this page that I wrote. Get ready to write your book. It's done. My first book is complete. What have you written down? That is part of your plan to be successful. Next thing is get ready to tell your story. You know, sometimes we're ashamed to tell our story. There's a lot of my story I haven't shared yet either, but if you go back into some of the videos on how I become addicted to the drugs that they were giving me for the depression that I used to have, it said, I wrote down this 2 years ago, get ready to tell your story. And you know what? I wasn't ready to tell my story. But as soon as you start telling your story, then you realize that you're successful in that regard because it's helping other people. So that's why I started the YouTube channel, is to start teaching and telling people how I became successful in my own story. And then I wrote down, and we've heard this before, that your mess will be your message. You know, you all have different messages. We've all had different things that we've gone through in life, but in order to talk about them, sometimes we feel embarrassed, right? To talk about them. But guess what? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to tell your story. It took me almost 35 years, honestly, to tell my story about the depression. I guess I was too proud, you know, or I was too afraid what people might think. A lot of people didn't even know I was struggling with that until the book came out. And they were texting me and saying, Karen, I had no idea. Because I talk about it in my book all the time, that depression is not an outward thing. Everybody looks okay, but it's an inward thing. It's in your brain. It's what your subconscious, it's what the enemy is teaching you and telling you that you're depressed. So one of the things I want to leave with you today is to take action on one of these things. Write down in your journal or in your brain dump tonight, or even today, write it down as I'm talking to you, that you're going to take action. Write down one action that you'll take today. Just one. Maybe you're going to write down, I'll go for a walk for 10 minutes, or I'm going to hit the gym, or I'm going to stop eating junk food, or whatever you want to do to gain your success. Success is not always financial. Success is doing the things that you've promised yourself that you want to do and you haven't quite done it. I'm going to read you a scripture in closing, and it says, keep this, that in Romans it says, Romans 11:29, for the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. So your gifts that you were born with, we all have different gifts, are irrevocable with God. So since they're irrevocable with God, prepare your minds to achieve action. Prepare your goals to achieve your kind of success. And I'm going to see you on the next video. Have a fabulous day, and remember, your success is different from everybody else's.